systemic part. Okay. So in the previous class, we have Prem Agarwal. In the previous class, we have discussed about the general characteristic of a trematode, the general morphology, their general life cycle. I told you that from the beginning, now also I'm repeating again, please mark it or please keep in mind that understanding their general characteristic will help you understand at least 70 to 80% of what we are going to discuss in the systemic part. I'm repeating, at least it will help you to understand 70 to 80%, because people used to say parasitology is very boring and it's very dry and it's very lengthy, hefty subject and difficult to understand with names and all that complex and that. Thing is that they want to handle a single life cycle and single pathogenesis of a single parasite. Then it is not possible. There could be at least 200 to 300 parasites in your course. So it is not possible. So therefore, what I am trying to make a point here is we require to understand their group characteristic, their group pathogenesis, their group life cycle. Thereafter, we will try to apply in each of the single parasite species that we are going to discuss, and it will be very easy, super easy. In trematode, you need to understand only two types of life cycle. One is the general life cycle, what we have discussed in the previous class, that is the egg develop into merasidium develop enters in the snail, it will develop into sporocytes, sporocytes develop into radia develop into cercaria, which is having a tail. The cercaria, after escaping from the snail, will throw off its tail and secretes the covering, which is known as metacercaria, and metacercaria will be eaten or ingested by ingested by the definitive host and completes the life cycle. So simple, so simple. Here, another type of life cycle which is depicted by trematode is the life cycle of schistosome. Here also it is very similar and a little bit modification, let's say a little bit differentiation from the previous one, in the sense that the adult parasite, they lay egg which is non-operculated. In the previous trematode, all those parasites under the class Trematoda, under the subclass Digenea, they are having operculated eggs. That means there is a cap in one side of or in one pole of the egg. But here, I'm going back. Here there is an operculum. Where is my pointer? Can you see my pointer? Please tell me yes or no. Come on. Hello? Here there is an operculum. All right. Please tell me. Okay. Then here there is an operculum. You can see here there is a cap. But what we are going to discuss today here in schistosome is they do not have an operculum. Rather, they have spine. You can see here one spine. Here also another spine. Here is another spine. Okay. Number one. Number two. In case of normal trematode, the egg which is laid freshly by the adult parasite, which comes out from the host, that means from ruminants or from human beings or from dog, cat, whatever, they are just a clump of embryo. That means it is just an embryonic mass. Here. Okay, it is an embryonic mass which will subsequently later develop into miracidia. That is the first stage of a trematode larva. But in this case, in case of cystosoma, the egg which is laid down is ready to hatch, and the moment it comes in contact with water, it will hatch. Why it is so? Because the egg contains fully developed miracidium, which is ready to hatch. And the moment you see, cattle will defecate and it will pass on on the fishes itself. Then immediately the parasite egg the egg will hatch into miracidium. Okay, cattle will defecate, and on the fishes, she will or he or she, the bull or the cow will urinate upon it. Then it will immediately hatch. Okay, that means the egg contain fully developed miracidia, or singular we can say miracidium. All right. So this miracidium is, I told you that it is ciliated here. There is presence of cilia which will penetrate through an intermediate host known as snail. So what is intermediate host? Intermediate host is a host where there is development and propagation of the intermediate stage of a parasite. I'm repeating, intermediate host is a host, or it is a type of host where there is development and propagation of the intermediate stage of the parasite. Here, the stage that is entering is miracidium. The miracidium will develop into sporocyst. It will develop into cercaria. Okay, here also there is an exception. In case of normal trematode, the stage which is entering here is the miracidium. It will develop into sporocyst. It will develop sporocyst will develop into radia, and ultimately Cercaria will leave the snail. That means Cercaria will exit the snail. But in case of cystosome, the state that is entering is the miracidium, which will develop into sporocyst without developing a radial state or radia. It will into a cercaria. The cercaria here, you see, the cercaria here, the difference between the previous one and this one is the cercaria is having bifurcated tail. And in fact, the bifurcated tail cercaria is the infective stage. Let's compare with the previous one. In case of the previous one, the cercaria will throw off its tail and subsequently cover itself with a covering, and this one we call it as encysment, encystment. We call it as encysment, or we can say encysted metacercaria. The encysted metacercaria will be ingested by the definitive host, whereas in case of cystosome, the cercaria is having a bifurcated tail, which will not be, which will be actively penetrating the host. That means the cercaria will be swimming in water. The moment cattle come down in the river or in the pond to drink, and the moment they dip their feet, they'll penetrate upon the skin. They'll penetrate to their skin, and subsequently they will enter on the host. The other type of life, I mean, the what will happen inside the host, we will talk about when we study regarding cystosoma. Okay, I'm repeating what are the differentiation. One is the parasite itself is, let's compare with normal trematode. There is no male or there is no female. There is a single entity. That means the parasite are hermaphrodite. Cystosoma, there is male and there is female. Point number one. Point number two, the egg which is laid down by normal trematode is an embryonic mass with operculum. But in case of cystosoma, the egg which is laid down is containing fully developed miracidium, and also there is presence of a spine instead of an operculum. The miracidium will penetrate to the host, the snail. Inside the snail, there will be development of sporosis, two generations, sporosis without redia. Subsequently, the Cercaria will escape and which is having a bifurcated tail here, which is having a bifurcated tail known as Parcos Sarcas Cercaria. Mark it, mark it. I'm going to ask this one in exam. Fill up the blanks or MCQ. Parcos Sarcas Cercaria is the infective stage, but the Metacercaria is the infective stage of most of the other trematodes. In case of cystosome, Parcos Sarcas Cercaria. Parcos Sarcas Cercaria is the infective stage. Number next point. In case of most of the other trematodes, infection happens through ingestion of the encysted metacercaria or encysted cercaria known as metacercaria. But here in this case, in case of cystosoma, the infection of a host happens to occur by the active penetration of the cercaria, which is known as Parcocerca cercaria, through the skin of an animal or human being also. Schistosoma is very, very important parasites, not only for human being, not only for animal, but also human being, especially in African countries. Please, this is for your assignment. And just after finishing of this class, please take only 5 minutes. From the beginning of the class, I told you that you don't need to study hard. And for 5 minutes only, just browse on your Google Chrome Schistosoma human being. Just type only these two and you see what have come in your search tool and please read and see the picture also Google image and how important the parasite is not only for animal for human being as well. Okay, so with that one, we have concluded our chapter on Chimatoda. Now I would like to go maybe another 15 minutes for for cystodes. Okay, so I told you that I'm going I'm going back to the classification. Okay, so here, in case of platyhell means we have three class. One is Trematoda, the first one, and two class of cystod, known as Eucystoda, which is known as true tapeworm, and class Cotyloda, which is known as false tapeworm. Under Trematoda, we have three subclass. One is Digynia, Monogynia, Aspidogastria. Monogynia, we don't care. Aspidogastria, these are the parasite of turtle, and Monogynia, these are the parasite of fish. We don't care. And we only going to study about digenetic trematode. Okay, in today's class, we will also see the general characteristic of Eucystoda, which is a true tapeworm, and Cotyloda. If I'm going fast, you may do not hesitate to stop me, or if you are feeling shy also just to speak it out, just give me a message in the chat box itself and I'll not reveal your name and I'll repeat it once again. All right, just give me a private message, no issue, no problem. Now let's talk about Eucystoda. What is the meaning of EU? Come on, what is the meaning of EU? Hmm? Let me ask you. I'm calling him out because he's the CR. I expect him not to feel shy. Tell me, what is the meaning of EU? Oh, it will be good.
Hello?
Yes. What is the meaning of EU?
True.
True. Yes, true. EU means true. Cystoda means true tapeworm. So here, let's see their general morphology and their general. Let's see their general morphology. Tapeworms, they can range from few millimeters, some maybe 4 to 5 millimeters, to several meters. I'll give you example. Dipylidium, sorry, for poultry, they can be up to maximum 5 millimeters. But whereas the Monesia benedini, they said there is a record of up to 25 meters, quarter of the football field. Okay, their size can range from few millimeters to several meters. Number one. Number two, their body is composed of, number one, as you know, you are well aware of it. Number one is the head, or known as the scolex, or the neck region, or the segment known as proglotid. The proglotid are collectively known as strobila. Sorry, here I have written this is wrong. I mean, typo error. Okay, here it is Strobil, strobila. All right, strobila. These are the proglotid. The segment. The proglotid is. Let's talk about the proglotid. Okay. Then the scolex is only for attachment. There is no metabolical importance of the scolex. I'm repeating. There is no metabolical importance of the scolex. It is for mere attachment. Number one. Neck. From here, from the neck, new segment will be growing. That's why we call them as growth region. And the new segment will be placed here, and the mature one will be pushed further away from the scolex. The segment which are nearing to the scolex are immature, and the scolex are sorry, the proglotids or the segment which are away from the scolex are mature. Okay, so here can you see what I'm pointing here? This immature one means, what is the meaning of immature? That means the reproductive organ are not yet mature. Mature means the reproductive organ started to mature. Here, as I told you that the proglotid, that means the segment function almost like a single individual or a single entity. That means each segment can contain, you can relate with this purple color. This purple color are the testes, and the blue color are the ovaries or the uterus. Okay, so what will happen is,
Yes, sir.
all right. So the mature proglotid, as I told you, that will contain multiple testes. Sometimes there can be up to 60 number of testes, and female reproductive organ, uterus with ovaries. Okay, so the mature proglotid, in the mature proglotid, there will be fertilization of the male of to the egg. Subsequently, the testes would disintegrate. Please listen, follow me carefully. This is going to be important. After fertilization, the testes will disintegrate, the ovaries will disintegrate, and ultimately, what is left in the segment of the tapeworm is the ovary. Sorry, only the uterus, which are packed with eggs, fertilized egg. That is known as gravid proglotid. I'm repeating. Gravid proglotid means it is the terminal segment here. You can see the terminal segment, which are packed with the ovary uterus that is filled with eggs. After fertilization of the male and female reproductive organ in the mature proglotid, the female and male reproductive organ disintegrate, except the uterus. The uterus remains. this uterus will mm, be remaining, and it will be packed with the egg. Subsequently, it will disintegrate to contaminate the environment. So that proclotid or that segment of a tapeworm where only the uterus remains after fertilization is known as gravid proclotid. Okay, as I told you that the next point is the alimentary canal is absent. Okay, because there is no possibility of having alimentary canal here. The the gravid proclotid will disintegrate and new segment will be incorporated in the neck region, and then the cycle goes on. So the subsequently this mature proclotid will become gravid proclotid, and the immature proclotid will become mature. So there is no alimentary canal. The mode of nutrition is exclusively or entirely of absorption of nutrients from their surroundings. Each segment is independent on another. Each segment does not depend on another. They are independent on each other. Here, they are independent. These are the tapeworm. This is the scolex, which is having the suckers 1, 2, 3, 4, and sometimes there is presence of hooks, and this is the proclotid, and these are the testes. I told you that there can be multiple numbers of testes. There can be up to 60 numbers, and this dark structure is the uterus, and the ovaries will be present, and this is actually the mature proclotid. After fertilization, all these things will disintegrate except the uterus, which will be packed with egg. At that time, we will call it as gravid proclotid. This is sexually mature proclotid. Okay, clear? Is it clear? In 5 minutes, my Zoom will stop, and in the next class, I will try to discuss about what I'll try to discuss about cotyloda. Let's not be hurry. So okay, the next is the egg. The differentiation of the egg from of cystoid, especially eucystoda, from trematode is, in case of trematode there is presence of operculum, or in case of cystosome there is presence of spine. But here in this case, in case of eucystoda, there is presence of hook. There is presence of hooks. Let me go back to the previous slide. There is presence of hooks here, right? Come on, tell me. Yes or no? Please respond to me.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
there is presence of hooks. So therefore, in the egg also you can see there are presence of hooks here. The egg is more or less round in structure. It is an okay. So the outermost covering is known as embryo 4. This I'll ask in exam. So the differentiation of tapeworm egg from trematode egg is operculated, whereas tapeworm, especially this what is that eucystode, is what hook. There is presence of hook. That's why we call it as hexagon. That means there are 3 pairs of hooks. Hexa means 6. Hexagon embryo. All right. Life cycle of cystode, the intermediate stage. In case of trematode, we have miracidium, sporosis, radia, cercaria, metacercaria. But here in this case, in case of eucystoda, we have different types of metacystode. These are the different types of metacystode: cysticercoid, cysticercus, sinuous, strobilocercus, tetrathyroidium, hydratid. These things I'll explain in the next class. But before that, you please go through what are those, and later on, it will be easy for you. Okay. as I told you that I'm not going very fast on the subject. Okay, is there any question? Is there any question? Let me know. Is there any question? I do not want to take so long because it will be boring for you listening online class for the whole day. That's why I'm taking for a very short time for two, maybe 20 minutes maximum. Okay, if there is no question, and I'm ending the meeting. Okay, thank you. Good.
Thank you, sir.